My name is Kathleen Harford. I'm with Potomac Wave Consulting, and this is one of our weekly webinars, which we host every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. This week we're going to be going over improving competition rates, Phase 1 and Phase 2 email alerts. So it's a little different than webinars in the past where we're introducing new features or new functions or new data checks. This one's kind of jumping back into our traditional email alerts. Going into more detail into these email alerts for those of you who may have been receiving them for a while. I just want to start out and make sure everyone can hear me. If you can't hear me, please feel free to raise your hand. There's a raise your hand button there on the GoToWebinar menu. But if the quality is okay, we'll keep on moving on. You can also type a question or a chat via the GoToWebinar as well. I am going to be using a PowerPoint for today's presentation, and that PowerPoint is attached to the GoToWebinar menu. You can download the PowerPoint under the Handouts section of the GoToWebinar menu. We'll also send the PowerPoint out in an email after the presentation. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the agenda. We're going to start with some brief introductions, some announcements, and then we're going to jump into our topic, which is improving competition rates, Phase 1 and Phase 2 email alerts. We're going to cover those email alerts today, as long as how they work in conjunction with the competition dashboard and our market research tool. I'm going to dedicate some time to Q&A at the end of the webinar, but as always, please feel free to jump in with any questions or comments throughout the webinar. I have the ability to unmute you so you can jump in on the line. Just let me know by raising your hand or typing a question in the chat with a question box. And then we save the Fed Data Check and Potomac Wave overviews for the end, just because we do have a lot of regulars who are on these webinars, and that's kind of the same information every time, so we hold that off until the end. Okay, my name is Kathleen Harford. I'm a SharePoint developer with Potomac Wave Consulting. I put my contact information up here in case you have any questions or comments after or during the webinar. I have also linked our Fed Data Check YouTube channel in the PowerPoint as well. We are trying to get our subscribers up so we can have a dedicated Fed Data Check YouTube channel. That YouTube channel hosts all of these webinars that we do. So we record these webinars, and afterwards we post them on our YouTube channel. So if you missed one, you can hop over to the YouTube channel and take a look. We also have other tutorials and other topics that we cover in videos, short videos on our Fed Data Check YouTube channel. And then this is our Potomac Wave website as well. So always the announcements every week. You can get CLP points for attending the Fed Data Check webinars. Currently, COs and CSs with the following agencies are eligible. That's NOAA, NIST, Fish and Wildlife or Interior, FEC, Education, and Treasury. There are a few stipulations to earning these CLP credits or these CLP points. I always have to point those out at the beginning of the webinar. You do have to keep your engagement level up. So the GoToWebinar, which is the tool that we're using, it does track your screen engagement. So you should keep the GoToWebinar on your main monitor. That's just part of the equation that they use to calculate your engagement percentage. Depends on keeping that screen on your main display or your main webinar. So that's important there. And then also participating in the polls and the surveys is important to keep that engagement level up. And you also can raise your engagement level by asking a question, typing in a question in the chat box, or raising your hand. For any of those agencies that we did not list, you can always attempt to receive those CLP points by submitting through PayTask. And so, as always, we'll send out those certificates after this webinar is complete. All right, so as I mentioned, today's webinar is focusing on improving competition rates, Phase 1 and Phase 2 email alerts. So I think we have a lot of subscribers on the line, those of you who belong to departments or agencies who are subscribers of Fed Data Check. We may also have some folks who are not necessarily subscribers yet, but some of you may be familiar with these Phase 1 and Phase 2 email alerts involving competition and trying to increase those competition rates, as well as some data quality issues as well. So here's how we do it, or here's how we attempt to do it. Fed Data Check identifies non-competitive awards for email alerts. We automatically scan that FPDSNG award information for non-competitive awards that meet the following conditions. So there's a few cases here. One, we flag a non-competitive award that's set to expire in 6 months. And we also flag records where the order or call was not competed, but the referenced IDV was competed. So we break out those two categories and we generate email alerts based on those two categories. We call those Phase 1 email alerts, which is the first stipulation here, and also a Phase 2 email alert, which is the second case listed here. So I'm going to launch our first poll just to get an idea of how many people are subscribers here or how many people are new to Fed Data Check. And it's a simple one. Again, have you received a competition-related Fed Data Check email alert? I will mention again, if you're at your computer, just make sure to answer the poll questions. It definitely helps if you are looking for those CLP points. Participating in the polls and also asking questions or raising your hand definitely increases your engagement level. I'm going to keep it open for about 15 to 20 more seconds. It looks like not everyone has voted yet. All right, about 5 more seconds, and I'm going to close the poll. And okay. All right, so we didn't get a full response from everyone here, but it looks like it's about 50-50 on yes or no. A few more of you are saying no, that you've never received a competition-related Fed Data Check email alert. So it's probably good that we're going over these today in case you are a subscriber and you ever do receive one of these email alerts. We like to jump back into the vaults and go over some of our existing capabilities just so that everyone stays engaged and stays up to date on all that Fed Data Check is offering. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the Phase 1 email alerts. It looks like I might have a question. It says, why do you flag the non-competitive to send a 6-month notice? That's a great question. So I'm jumping into the Phase 1 email alerts right now, and that will hopefully answer your question. Alrighty, so our Phase 1 email alert is an expiring non-competed award. So we flag a record that's a non-competed award about to expire in 6 months and send that email to the CO or CS. It's important to note that when we're sending out these emails, there's no action required. These email alerts are really for informational purposes only. The goal with these two email alerts together is to work on increasing competition rate throughout your agency or throughout your department. There's a little bit more of a specific goal when it comes to each email alert, and so I'll go over that now. So the goal for the Phase 1 email alert, which is the non-competitive award that's set to expire in 6 months, is to increase competition via a recompete. So if the goal is to recompete when that award is about to expire, our email alert, 1, gives you a heads up that that alert is about to expire, and 2, we include a market research tool in that email alert. So I'll go into an example right now. Oops. I have an example as just an image in our PowerPoint, but I also have a live email example that I'll jump into as well. But let's jump into what this email alert will look like. Again, relating back to the poll, it looks like about half of you have not received one, so it's good to kind of set your eyes on this one, kind of get an idea of what it looks like, just so that you know what to expect if you ever do get one. So we always have the label at the top for what this email alert contains, and this is phase 1, expiring not completed award. Again, we note that no action is required. It's for informational purposes only. And so right here, we note that this award is is coded in FPDS-NG as being not completed, and it's currently set to expire in about 6 months. If a recompete is intended and you wish to view alternate sources, click on the Conduct Market Research tool below. So we have a link embedded in the email itself that you can click, and that will take you out to a market research tool. So I'm going to jump in to a live email alert. 1 second here, I'm on the other screen, so I'll pull that over. And while I'm pulling that up, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. I can unmute you and you can jump in, or type in any questions in the chat box, and I'll be sure to address them as soon as possible. Alrighty, so this is the phase 1 email alert. It's a live example of a phase 1 email alert. Again, this is a non-competed award set to expire in 6 months. We always have the link to that FPDS-NG record in our email alerts, as well as some summary data just to look over and try and get a quick glance of what that record is, kind of jog your memory there. I'm going to click on the Conduct Market Research. That tool actually popped up on the other side there, so I pulled it over to our main screen so you can see it. And when I click on that market research tool, what this report is going to do, if you're looking on the right-hand side here under parameters, is it's going to pull in all of the information from that current award. So it pulls in the place of performance zip code for that current award, or that award that was flagged. It pulls in the 4-digit makes, PSC category, the business size, the department, the agency that's associated, and so forth. So there's a lot of information over on this parameter side that's definitely useful. So let's take a look at what this market research tool is doing. You'll notice right here there's a search radius for the miles, and what that's doing is we default that to 50 miles. And so what we're looking for is vendors within 50 miles of the place of performance zip code for that record that we flagged. Vendors that also do similar work in the same area. So what you're looking at here is a list of vendors that do similar work that are in good standing with the Department of the Interior, Fish and Wildlife, and so it's specific to that department and agency. They're already doing work with you, or at least your agency. And so, since this was a non-competed award set to expire, if you're looking to find ways to increase your competition, or if you're looking to recompete this the next time around, and you're thinking, how can I increase interest in this particular award, we've got at least a starting point for a list of vendors that might have interest in bidding on that award. When you run this award, the incumbent vendor is going to be highlighted in green, so you'll note which one you're already working with, and so on. You are able to adjust these parameters. So say this is a relatively small list for, for trying to get a group of vendors to be interested in this particular record. You can always expand or narrow down on these parameters here. So this market research tool is something that's worth playing around with or worth exploring. Definitely click on those links when you receive those emails and take a look, play around with these parameters, and see what kind of information that you can come up with. All right, I'm going to pause there for any questions before I move on. We're still going to jump a little bit more into this phase 1 email in a little bit of a different way, but just feel free to, again, raise your hand, type in that question box if you have any questions. Okay, so I just covered that phase 1 email alert, again, sending you a notice when a non-competed award is set to expire. So our email alerts from Fed Data Check typically work in conjunction with either a dashboard on our website or a report on our website, and those email alerts kind of stem from a dashboard or a report. The email alerts we like because they're more actionable, they're very timely. You're getting it pushed to your inbox versus having to go out and reach for that information or search for that information. It often helps to have that information directed right into your inbox. However, if this is something that's really interesting you or something that you feel like you really need to work on increasing or improving, you can always jump to our website if you're a subscriber and head to your department or your agency's website, and I'm going to head over to the competition dashboard. So like I said, these emails work in conjunction with some of our reports and our dashboards as well. And I just clicked on our competition dashboard. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so that you're able to see. I can do that. Oh. All right. And I'm going to jump to page 2, which is a report, expiring non-competes report, that essentially shows you very similar information to what we just pushed to you in an email alert. I'm just going to click on Fish and Wildlife as an example, as an agency. And I'm going to scroll down, and you'll notice that this report breaks out those expiring awards by office. And you can click on the plus signs here, and you'll actually get a list of expiring awards for your particular office. What's listed here is, again, that award information, which if you click on that, directs you out to FPDS-NG, so you can take a look at that record. We also have the number of days until that award expires. Again, we always include a little bit of summary information to jog your memory, just sort of a quick recap of that award in case you don't want to go out and view it intensely in FPDS-NG. And then again, the same thing that's located in those emails, that market research link, is also included here on this report. So let's say this is your office 140F09 in Fish and Wildlife, and you're looking to increase your competition. And let's see, this is the highest dollar amount. Let's click on this one and see if we can get any more interest or any more folks to start bidding on these records. Again, these parameters are important. Starting with these parameters really kind of gives you an idea of what am I looking at here. Some of these reports can be really big and have a lot of information in them. So if you're new to running reports on FPDS-NG, or if you're just a little lost at the moment, looking over here on this right-hand parameter side really helps you get an idea of what I'm looking at. All right, I'm looking at vendors that are within 50 miles of this zip code for this NAICS code, all PSC categories. We're looking at small business, all socioeconomic categories. They do business with Interior, Fish and Wildlife already, and so on. Again, you can work on expanding these parameters as well. So we'll just open this up to all agencies. It might include some more vendors instead of just ones that have done work with Fish and Wildlife. And when you click apply, this should refresh, and you should be able to see another list of vendors here. And while that's loading, so I went over the competition dashboard, page 2, expiring non-competes. Like I said, it kind of mimics the phase 1 email alert. It is for informational purposes only, but that market research tool, the same one that's included in the email alert, is also included on that dashboard. So if you're ever looking to do sort of more proactive type situation, you could log into the dashboard and go ahead and look at those non-competes. All right, so while that's loading, I'm going to launch our second poll, which is how do you currently conduct market research? And so let me launch that poll. All right, so how do you currently conduct market research? Some of you may use Fed Data Check, some of you may not be involved in it. All right, I'll keep the poll open probably for about 15 more seconds. Looks like we have a few more who might want to vote, and it looks like we have a hand raised here, so let me pop these questions out. Okay, Pamela, I'm going to unmute you. If you want to jump in with a question or comment on the line, please feel free. I believe you're unmuted.
Oh, I was trying to figure out how to do the poll. I missed the first one.
Oh, okay. The second one should be up now, so hopefully...
Yeah, and I did, it seemed like it popped up when I clicked on the hand, so that's what I thought I was supposed to do.
Oh, okay. I see. Thanks, Pamela. All right, I'm going to give the poll just a few more seconds. Looks like we've almost got 100% complete, but I'm going to close it in about 5. All right. So it looks like I had a few options up there, as you were all able to see. Some of you use Fed Data Check's market research tool already. I'd be definitely be interested if anyone wants to either type in a chat to me or a questions comment. If you use Fed Data Check's tool, that'd be great. I'd love to hear from you. Some other agencies already have a different market research tool. A few of you create ad hoc reports in FPDS-NG. Some of you aren't involved in market research, and 48% of you are other. So if anybody wants to kind of jump in with what else you're doing with market research, or we can save that to the end if you want as well. But I'd be interested to hear how other people are conducting market research. This is one of our newer tools. We're still working on refining and adjusting this tool kind of to fit the needs of the folks who are using it. So we're always interested in feedback and extra comments there. So please feel free to jump in, like I said. All right. So while I jumped into that poll, that other report did load. Again, I was kind of mentioning how we have this parameter section over here, and our initial report is defaulted to use all of the information from the award that was flagged, including the department and agency information. So at first, that report was limiting all of the vendors shown to vendors that already do work with your agency. So now I've kind of opened that up a little bit, and we're viewing vendors that work with all agencies, but we've limited it to interior. So that's a way to start using this market research tool, kind of playing around with it and seeing what you can do with it. Alrighty. Okay, and I'm going to move on to our Phase 2 email alerts. This. Okay, so our Phase 2 email alert is a little bit different than Phase 1. It also has a little bit of a different goal, but the overall goal is to increase that competition rate. Just make sure that you're getting all the credit that you can for competing your awards. So the Phase 2 email alert is more of a kind of double check or almost a data quality type email alert. And what we flag in that particular email alert is an order or call that's not competed, but the referenced IDV was competed. So again, there's not necessarily any action required. This is for informational purposes only. The goal for this particular alert is to monitor data quality and increase competition via any possible data entry correction. And so we mentioned here there's not necessarily action required. However, if the order or call actually was competed, Then we'd instruct the CO or CS to actually correct the FPDS-NG competition section information. This is a case when we often find that if the order or call was not competed but the reference IDV was, it often is the case that it could be a miscoding. So that's something that we flag, just more on the data quality side, I would say, just to kind of give you a double check, heads up, make sure that this is actually coded correctly so that you are getting all the credit that you can for your competition goals. So I'll pull up, we've got a little screenshot here again of what these types of email alerts look like. You can always view the title of the email alert in the upper left-hand corner. So this is not completed awards, phase 2, order call not completed, and referenced IDV was completed. Again, in this information here, we give you any sort of instruction necessary, tell you why we're flagging that particular record and what to do if anything needs to be done. So again, we mentioned there, if the order or call was actually completed, update the contract action report accordingly. And then we give, I'm sorry about that. We give some summary information on that particular record, a link out to FPDS-NG, just so that you're able to go in and possibly make the correction in FPDS-NG, or just take a look at that record itself and make sure that what's coded is what's actually meant to be there. Alrighty, so I'm going to open it up to any question and answers now. We did just want to jump back into these phase 1, phase 2 email alerts to keep current subscribers updated and any possible new subscribers aware of some of the capabilities of FedDataCheck that you might not have seen before. If anybody has any questions or answers, or questions or comments, sorry about that, I'm going to wait on the line just for a few minutes and keep it open. Again, now would be a good time to either raise your hand or type in the chat box if you're looking to keep that engagement up. I'll pause for a few minutes and then I'll jump into our FedDataCheck overview and so forth. All right, so it looks like we have another question here. It says, on the BPA order versus a call, if the BPA was competed and a single award was made, then the calls are marked how? Competed or not competed? We've actually had some discussion about this in the past as well. Let me see, let me see if I can unmute you, Monica. Are you talking about a single award IDV? If I can...
I can answer that.
All right. Sure, yeah, go ahead. And Monica, if you could clarify that a little bit, and then I think Bob was going to jump in and...
All right.
Yeah, I guess it's confusing sometimes, and I missed that session. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed that session. I wanted to get on that training session where y'all talked about this, but I had a conflict in the schedule. So, and I just want to make sure it's right, so it doesn't kick back, on
Sure.
a data check. So I would assume the call is then not competed, but if the original BPA was competed, do you call the call competed?
Well, yeah, it's old. Let's get into it here. So I'd be hard pressed to find specific examples, although I'll tell you what, I'll send them out to people in the email after this webinar. So as you know, Monica, it's a 2-hurdle test on a BPA call or on a delivery order as to whether that order or call counts as competed. One, let's stick with the BPA, Part A BPA. One, actually, let me shift that to a Part 13 BPA. You have to compete the BPA. Let's call that the base award. So that has to be competed. And then secondly, you have to compete the BPA call. So let's say you have a multiple award Part 13 BPA and you got 7 vendors on the vehicle. When you go, you can't go, and now, so you got the BPA, the Part 13 BPA all set up for plumbing. And now something happens in a building, you need plumbing services immediately. So then when you, on a BPA call, you have an urgent situation. What would I think it's URG on the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources. So you don't compete it. You just get the first plumbing vendor you can on the phone, and they come over and fix the water explosion on the second floor. So then that can and should count as a not competed BPA call. Even though you competed the BPA, you had an urgent situation, so on the call you got the first vendor you could find. Let me pull up the...
Right, and that makes sense.
Right.
But when the BPA is in a single award, then you're not going to have the competition for your calls because it's a single award.
That's true. Let me get to that. So, yeah, so I jumped into so in my example there, we had a multiple award Part 13 BPA. You then put URG, urgent, in the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources. You only showed the award. You only solicited it from one vendor. Therefore, that goes into FPDS&G as a not competed BPA call. On you, and let me just finish up on my thought here, and I'll get back to you. And then what FPDS&G does that's unusual is, logically, it should be, okay, the BPA was competed. Now I have, now I have routine maintenance on my pipes and the plumbing pipes. I do show that to, let's say, all the vendors, or what, at least 3, or let's just say for our discussion here, I'm not sure how it works on a Part 13, but let's just say we showed it to everybody. Forget about 3. I think that only applies to FS, Federal Supply Schedules, in certain circumstances, but it showed it to everybody, and I got 4 offers, and I picked the best one. Well, clearly the call was competed there, so that one would go in the competed column. Now, what FPDS&G does, that's a long story, long-winded. What FPDS&G does that's unusual is they don't care whether you competed the BPA or not when they go through their competition statistics. The only thing they look at is the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources value. So you can, and there is, a not competed BPA in FPDS&G, and then mistakenly the CO or CS puts FAR, Fair Opportunity Given, in the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources field, then that counts as a competed award as far as FPDS&G is concerned. It shouldn't, but that's how the statistics work. Okay, now let me get back to what your point was on the single award. Yeah, our strong recommendation, and I can tell you what GSA Public Building Service does, what Interior is currently looking at is, if you have a competed single award IDV, whether it's a BPA, indefinite delivery contract, or any, well, those would really be your only 2. FSS and GWACs are not going to be single award. So if you got a competed single award BPA, a competed single award IDC, actually GSA does have competed single award BPAs on their GSA Advantage. What we say to do, and what many other agencies say to do, at least GSA Public Building Services, don't even think about it. Just put FAIR in the Fair Opportunity Limited Sources field. That's the correct thing to do.
Okay. Well, and just kind of FYI, I'm talking about like bulk fuel. You do these bulk fuel BPA calls. You set up the BPA, and then you make calls against it for fuel delivery.
And it's a single award, Part 13 BPA?
Single award.
Yep. Yeah, that's FAIR. And I'll show you the GSA Advantage PDF. We went through that. GSA Advantage, those are single award Part 8 BPAs. If someone else on the phone can chime in on that, but I'm
But it's not a GSA award. It's just a BP. It's just a blanket purchase agreement.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it by analogy. I mean, if you're ordering off a GSA Advantage, I understand yours isn't a GSA. It's just a regular BPA. But if you're ordering against one of those GSA Advantage single award competed BPAs, you know, defies any logic to punish yourself, to punish your agency, and put that down as a not competed award. And that's not what their handout says or strongly suggested either. You're doing everything right. You're making a very efficient buy, I will say, off of GSA. You're using tools that the government wants you to use. That's FAIR. That counts as a competed award. GSA competed it, and you know, so that's what we're saying. You know, if you set up your bulk fuel, to use your example, and you went through the requirements, and presumably many vendors have the opportunity to bid on it, and but your requirements for your agency was to award that to a single vendor, and then you start making calls against it. That should, by all rights and by all logic, count as a competed action.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Anyway, that's what many agencies say, and that's our strong recommendation. Put it another way. Let's say you don't do that. You say, well, there's only one vendor. I'm going to put one, ONE, or one of the other things that indicate sole source. ONE, only one source, would be the one you would pick. Well, now you're really putting your agency at a disadvantage, because a lot of other agencies, I say correctly, put fair. Now you would really be putting yourself at a disadvantage when it comes to counting your competition statistics. So anyway, does that answer? That was a long-winded response, Monica, but did I answer your question, or was I in the ballpark?
Yeah, I think so. If not, I'm sure I'll get one of the emails.
Okay. I'll send out that, by analogy, I'll send out the GSA Advantage where they say to code those as competed awards too. I'll turn it back over to Kathleen.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that, Monica. We appreciate when everyone jumps in and gets a conversation going. If anybody has any lingering questions, please feel free to jump in. You can do so by raising your hand, and I'll be able to unmute you on the line. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump into our final recap here, which just goes over Fed Data Check and a little bit of a Potomac Wave overview. So we do have our Fed Data Check YouTube channel. One thing, if you missed a webinar, if you want to jump in to a past webinar that you weren't able to join, we do post all of our webinars on our Fed Data Check YouTube channel. So they are under the weekly webinar playlist. You can hop in there and jump in on any one of those, scroll around, and see if you can get some information that you wanted there. There's also a link to our Fed Data Check calendar on this PowerPoint, so you can view what webinars are coming up. You're also able to download the associated PowerPoint via the GoToWebinar menu, so you can download that now. We're also going to follow up with an email, which will include an attachment of the PowerPoint webinar as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you are able to get CLP points for attending today. The listed agencies are definitely eligible for those CLP points. However, anybody is able to attempt to receive them by submitting through FATAS. We'll also send out that certificate after this webinar. And Jumping into a little bit of a Potomac Wave overview, we were founded in 2007, headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia. We're women-owned small mostly. Certain vehicles now we're small, and otherwise we're not really. We're Microsoft Certified Partner, Business Intelligence, and Portals. That's a list of our prime contracting vehicles there, and we have a client satisfaction rated by Dun & Bradstreet in the highest tier achievable. It looks like we've got another question here. What is the authority for an award expiring in 6 months? Let's see if we'd be able to expand on that a little bit. The authority for an award. Peter. All right, Peter, I unmuted you there. Can you just clarify that just a little bit?
Well, I think you mentioned in the email alerts of phase 1 that the award that you're trying to figure out when the award expires in the award will expire in 6 months, and I just don't understand where that's coming from.
So we're using that. I can actually jump to our specifics here. So when we say that the award is about to expire in the next 6 months, let me jump to, we're saying that on the latest mod, I'll jump to this so that it's actually a visual on the screen. The latest mod, the completion date is within 6 months. So let me jump here and I'll kind of, hopefully this will answer your question here. All right, so when we say that we're flagging non-competed, quote-unquote, expiring awards that are about to expire in the last 6 months, here's what we're really flagging. Where the latest signed mod has an ultimate completion date or has a last date to order within the date range selected. So the date range for the email alerts is exactly 6 months, and then on Mondays we account for that weekend, just to get specific there. But for the email alerts, we're looking at records where the latest sign mod has an ultimate completion date or a last date to order within 6 months. And the award is not competed. We're making sure that it's an active award, it's not expired and or closed out. We typically flag records that are only over the staff. So we're really trying to hone in on those, higher dollar amount. Not that those are all going to be huge, but we're not focusing on those smaller awards there. And also we're flagging records where the period of performance is 2 years or longer, just to give you an option to recompete if you are so inclined. I hope that answers your question. Jump in if there's something you want me to go over in a little more detail.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering, as opposed to expiring in 2 months or 3 months. I mean, why is this 6 months?
I don't know if we've arbitrarily picked 6 months. I think we're just trying to give people more of a heads up than 2 or 3 months. I think from, when working to create this report with the current clients that we have, I think we came to a consensus that around 4 to 6 months might be the ideal timing to be able to prepare a recompete if that's what you plan on doing. We've often heard that maybe 1, 2, or 3 months is not enough time. So we've settled on 6 months for the purposes of the email alerts. When you jump into this dashboard here that I kind of went over briefly, you are able to adjust the dates, so you can actually, if you're looking for something that expires closer, you can do that as well. But for the purposes of the email alerts, we kind of stuck to around 6 months. That was just, I think, the general consensus of different teams that we've worked with.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for your question, Peter. All right. Does this error have a data check number assignment?
It's not an error.
It's not, yeah. So thanks for jumping in there, Cookie. It's not necessarily an error that we're flagging. So when I kind of jumped into these, I wanted to definitely make it known that no action is required for these particular email alerts. They're also not errors. They're just for informational purposes only. It's Potentially phase 2 could be a possible data entry mistake, I would say, but we're not considering these errors at this moment, or I don't think we will. So we're just flagging these: phase 1, the expiring non-compete, and phase 2, the not competed order or call with a competed IED, just for informational purposes, and there's no action required. Thanks for that question. I hope that cleared some things up for people. If you also had any questions about if this was a data error check or not. Okay. Thanks for the participation there, everybody. That was really great at the end to get some discussion going. We always appreciate you signing into these webinars. Again, feel free to head to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're trying to get a dedicated Fed Data Check YouTube channel up there. But also we include a lot of tutorial videos and recordings of all of our webinars that you may have missed. So thanks, everybody. I'll hang on the line, but feel free to sign off, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone.